All right, Chris Popper here in Bangor. I'm joined by Dr. Marc Gousse down in Bar Harbor. And Dr. Gousse, it's great to see you. We want to talk, give everybody a little update as to how things are going in terms of fighting COVID, and talk a little bit about the hardworking nurses with AOS 91. First, let's talk about COVID vaccines. One of the things we've talked about since last March was the need for everyone to be vaccinated. And the Bangor Daily News, or the Department of Education, issued a report at the end of August, at the end of August, midway, talking about staff vaccination levels, and AOS 91 is doing really, really well, and one of the best in the state in terms of making sure that the staff is fully vaccinated.
Yeah, we're really proud of our staff, of our students and communities, and I'll say that we've been blessed because of the support we've had, certainly with the resources, the Downey Task Force, COVID Task Force, the hospital, the Jackson Lab, BioLab. All of those entities have really served us well. But, in the end, you give credit where credit is due, and that's people are following the science. They're listening to the science. And I understand that people are on both sides of the aisle, but at the end of the day, we're a public school, and we're just trying to make sure that we're doing the right things in an effort to keep our schools open for in-person teaching and learning. And from our perspective, and vantage point, masking is a key component to that. Symptom monitoring is a key component to that. Vaccinations are a key component to that. And certainly another resource, we have pool testing. So, when you look at our data, Chris, and I shared it with you, and it's subject to change, but when you look at all of our staff pretty much across the island being in the high 90s, that's awesome. And then when you look at our students that are eligible for the vaccine, those numbers, we're proud of that. We've got some work to do, but those are really, really things that we should be proud of, and we are.
In terms of the staff vaccination levels, Frenchboro at 100%, Mount Desert Elementary at 98%, Tremont at 97%, Trenton at 96%, MDI High School at 95%, Connors Emerson at 96%, Swans Island at 88%, Pematic at 83%, and then Cranberry at 67%. Everybody's got to be vaccinated or be participating in that enhanced level of testing, because as a public schools, you follow under President Biden's mandate. Is that correct?
My understanding is that at this time it's correct for staff of 100 or more. So where we're trying to drill down, Chris, is that certainly would impact MDI High School. The question is that going to impact all of our schools as an AOS? And so that question hasn't been determined, but I'll say this, from the inception of the pandemic, we've had the approach that we're all in this together. So I hope, and my recommendation would be that we follow suit as a district, as a unit. And I'll also say, along with those numbers, that those are fully vaccinated numbers. So if there are people that are in their first series and haven't completed, those numbers will go out.
Right.
Again, the numbers we can be really proud of, but I don't think we stop until we're at 100%. And I also want to point out that the high school numbers include the AOS central office staff.
Yeah, to be at 95% is fantastic. Right. And looking at, we talked about it, the keys to staying out of quarantine is being vaccinated, wearing a mask, and participating in the pool testing. Right. And you've got, in terms of staff, Mount Desert Elementary's at 100% in the pool testing, MDI High School's at 87%, Tremont at 92, Trenton at 92, Connors Emerson at 78, Pematic at 76, and then Cranberry at 67. So, I mean, those are good numbers, and that's keeping kids in, and well, it's allowing everyone to be in school.
Yeah, and it's important to emphasize that, again, those numbers right now, that portion for pool testing, that's an opt-in program. So I know because I've talked to some people that, I didn't know that we had to opt in. So people, I'm very confident those numbers will go up. It's also very important people know that this pool testing, it is an opt-in, but it's non-invasive. It's not the swab that people, if they're concerned about,
Touch the top of your head, right?
right.
I mean, it's
This
just,
is I'm part of the pool testing myself. So every Tuesday, it's a 20-second process. You go down, you symptom monitor, you're given a swab. You self-swab. It's 4 times in each nostril, the same swab, and it's right on the tip of the nostril. You don't have to go up very far. It doesn't hurt. You put it into you place it into the tube, and that's it. We're done. And the amazing thing about this is mind-boggling, is with all the pool testing that we're doing in our schools and then across the state, and if you think about that, the results are virtually back to us within usually 24 hours, 48 the latest. It's mind-boggling to think how many of these tests they're processing. And that allows us, with that information, if we do get a positive in the pool, we don't know who the individual is. Confidentiality is there. But then we do the rapid test to determine and go from there. It's been a huge, huge positive for us.
well, it's really negative because we want it to stay negative, but it's a positive negative, right?
That's you got it. A poor choice of terms on my part. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Probably, not probably, but some of the hardest working people throughout this whole thing have been the nurses in the school districts, because they really are the point person for any type of contact tracing. And we know that they're getting hit up throughout all the day with all sorts of questions from staff, students, and parents. What can you tell us about the nurses at AOS 91 besides that they're fantastic individuals?
Well, okay, so I just on the chance that my 95-year-old mother, who's a retired nurse, might be watching, I'm gonna hopefully not disappoint her. Yeah, I want to say this carefully because it's hard to single any one person or group out. And boy, oh boy, don't we know that our teachers and all of our staff are working really hard. But those frontline people, the people in the trenches, when we're doing the pool testing or when we're working with families and kids and staff about questions they have with COVID, and God forbid, if we have to do contact tracing, these folks are literally working day and night. And it's hard to describe the amount of work and capacity they have. And I'm so very proud of them, but they need help and they need support. And so realizing that was a key area and a critical component of working to try to keep our schools open for in-person teaching and learning. All of our schools have a school nurse. But the reality is, if one of them gets ill or one of them is working extra and doesn't have additional time, none of them have additional time, we need to provide them some support, as we have with our teachers. And so that support means, at this point, we budgeted $80,000 for asymptomatic testing. With pool testing, we have not seen the need to access that. And so I had to ask myself the question, and the administrators and the nurses, how can we best support these people now, knowing full well that they need additional resources? And so I went to the AOS board and I asked permission to access that $80,000 in funding to provide direct support for the nurses. Our nurses meet weekly with 2 members of our administrative team. And so we'll be reaching out to them to make sure that what we're advertising for and what we're asking for directly suits their needs. In short, Chris, what I envision is us posting a position for a floating nurse. That person will be available for direct support in each of the schools if we have a contact tracing situation, or if we have a nurse that, for whatever reason, can't be available that day, or that building has a particular need, then we can deploy that resource. That's the goal, but I'm not advertising it until I hear directly back from the nurses on any other needs. Part and parcel of me wanting to discuss this with you is, I know that people pay attention to the broadcast you do, and if there's a person out there, there's a nurse, there's somebody that is looking to align their schedule with a school schedule, we sure as heck could use the help, and so it's all hands on deck, and we hope we're able to attract a resource to support our nurses.
This isn't something that's going to go away as much as we wish that it would. I mean, we're still in the high to severe transmission levels in the area.
Well, I mean, Chris, I don't try to change people's opinion, but I think, I try to look at this in a black and white sort of way. But at the end of the day, if you look at the data, and people can look at data always, it's pretty clear that the schools that have implemented mask mandates have seen a different set of data than schools that did not. Okay, so that's one piece to look at. The second piece to look at is that I believe personally we're going to be doing this for a long, long time until we reach that herd immunity, or the fact of the matter is that the reason we're seeing these variations and the reason we're seeing this continue is because not everybody is vaccinated. And it's kind of like antibiotics. If you and I are prescribed an antibiotic and we go home and we take it and we start to feel well, we don't finish it, that's not good, because these things mutate, they develop strains. So I think we need to listen to our doctors. I think we need to follow the science. I think if we don't do that, I think we'll be doing this a lot longer, and that's unfortunate. But schools have been really placed in tough spots in that people want schools open, and if we want schools open for in-person teaching and learning, there's certain things that we all have to be prepared to do. I use a pretty simple analogy. If I want to go into a store, I can't walk into that store generally without a shirt on or shoes. I mean, there are certain things that we have to do. And I think these are one of the things that we do. If you and I fly on an airplane, if we're smokers, we can't smoke on an airplane. There are certain things I think we do for the greater good, and this is one of them. So my point is that following the science works. I believe it keeps us safe. It keeps the broader community safe. And the bottom line is this: we are getting ready to go into the winter season, and we are getting ready to go into Thanksgiving and the holidays. And so, we've got to work together. And I do believe that punitive measures do not work. Mandates don't work. We need for people to do the right thing because they believe and know it's the right thing. And I trust our nurses and I trust our doctors, and I hope we continue on this pathway.
There's no doubt that everyone pandemic fatigue is a real thing.
Yes.
I mean, when we started this back in March of 2020, it was the thought that it was going to be 2 weeks and we'd flatten the curve and we'd be back in action. And, we went through all of last year, and then things looked very bright as we entered the summer, and then there was the Delta variant. And
I think we've shown that when we've masked and we've had tourists, largely we look at the data. Okay, a lot of what we've seen when we have cases have happened when we each let our own guard down, right? So I think it's really important to pay attention to those things. The most important thing is the self-symptom monitoring, and just again following the science. It's interesting. I was looking at things from 1918, the pandemic of 1918, and a number of the things that they did back then to combat the virus worked. and we're, the masking and the physical distancing, those are things that we have to do because they work.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, I've gone into places and I've seen people and, you're kind of, you want to hug, you want to shake hands. There are people that I've known for years, and it's just, it's where we're at. And it's just a matter of hanging on, hopefully for a little while longer and getting through. And
Yeah.
instead of it being a pandemic becoming, it's going to be with us for a while. It's going to become endemic, much like the flus. And, that's something that, I just saw the Bar Harbor Town Council put out, it's time to start thinking of your flu shot at the same time as to whether or not you're eligible for the booster shot,
Right.
for the for COVID, or if you're not vaccinated, to get vaccinated.
Well, and again, Chris, talking in here, I think to remind everybody, last year, flu season. Did you get the flu? I didn't get the flu. I have to believe that many of the things we were doing, good hygiene, masking, are related. And so for nothing else, COVID aside, think about that. And I hope people will do that. I did, an observation, because we were always talking about, what's best for our kids and do it. The kids have been amazing. I have not seen, any pushback or resistance. I mean, are they thrilled about it? Of course not. I'm not. But they're very resilient, and they've been real role models for all of us. So I'm really proud of our kids and our staff. They've been very resilient. It's hard work. It's grueling work, but they're making it work and making it happen. So we need to continue to affirm them. And I think that, again, as I look at it, the more that we can have people do the right thing because they believe it's the right thing, the more capacity we'll have. I believe that when we try to force people to do things and we're punitive, that's not investment. So, I think these types of conversations are really important, and educating people, but also listening to them and considering points of view, because things do change. And we've said from day one, we're never just going to assume things. We're going to look at information, monitor it, and adapt accordingly. So we are doing the very best we can. We're not perfect, but more than anything, I want to thank the community and thank people for their patience and their trust. We're going to continue to try to do the right thing.
All right, Dr. Gousse, thank you very much. You're welcome anytime, and we'll chat again.
Thanks so much, Chris. Be well. Take care.